Site B was the factory floor. That was on Ina Song, without fences, without boundaries, without constraining technology.
Eddie Carr, who, honestly, I like. Wild.
A polar bear!
All I want in exchange for my services is the right to hunt one of the Tyrannosaurs.
Nick and Sarah bring the injured baby T-Rex to their camp. I really liked Eddie, and there was no reason for him to get killed off.
Go. As fast as you can.
I'm surrounded by cow turds.
And now, it's time to see how this adventure concludes.
Roland hit it with 2 darts of concentrated carfentanil, over 10 milligrams.
With a wild T-Rex loose in San Diego, Ian and Sarah will have to find a way to lure it back to the boat so they can ship it back to Isla Sorna. How are they gonna do that? Well, first they gotta locate the baby Rex. God damn it, why does this thing have to come back? Haven't we learned by now that these characters cannot handle a baby T-Rex? By the way, I think it should be pointed out here that Nick just kinda disappears off the radar after they get back to the city. Like, literally there's no line of dialogue that says where he went, he just kinda leaves. And in case you wonder about Roland, while he did trank the Rex, he sorta gave up on the whole hunting dinosaurs thing because his friend Ajay died to raptors. Kelly also disappears for a little bit, but at least it's a little bit more understanding of what possibly happened to her. I mean, we can assume that Malcolm dropped Kelly off at the house or something. So before Rexy goes finding his infant, he needs to find a watering source because he's parched. And yes, I'm assuming that this Rex is male.
Does somebody go out in the park and pull up the dinosaur's skirts?
No, I only assume that it's male because Roland wanted to hunt a male T-Rex to begin with, and this happens to be the one he tranked.
That is one big pile of shit.
You're one big pile of shit.
Looking for a water source, Rexy takes a casual stroll down a local... Okay, what the hell is that? That's just so stupid. How does nobody feel rumbling? How does nobody hear what's going on outside? Are people really that deep asleep? I don't know. Like, these Rexes are weird, aren't they? I mean, the one in the first movie was threatening. These ones are just kind of weird. Like, remember that camping scene? Remember how the T-Rex was just kind of like peeking its eye through the tent? By the way, how did it bend that low to make its head go in there? I don't know. Whatever, Rexy finds his water source being a pool. And I don't want to show this scene because, you know, it was bad enough showing Eddie's death scene, but man, this scene went way too far. I mean, I get it, it didn't actually happen, but still, the thought of it actually happening is still there. But either way, a kid in his room, here's a shocker, does something stupid by taking a picture of the T-Rex. And the flash of the camera pisses it off. And what a coincidence! It just so happens that Malcolm and Sarah found the infant. Okay, so Peter told them the location as to where the infant is. But whatever, now that they found the infant, again, they gotta go find the adult.
How will we find the adult?
Gee, I don't know, Sarah, because let me tell you, finding T-Rexes in San Diego, they are really hard to find. So now we get some Rex chasing action in the city, and this is freaking awesome. Okay, just pause the movie! Hi everybody! Guess what? The moment I'm recording this, I was done with this review. I had it completed, and I had it rendered. I had it ready to go up on February 19th. Well, after I was done with this part, I took a look back at it to make sure that it looked good. I noticed something about this bus scene here. Notice how there's no passengers on the bus when we see this shot? And look at the driver. Yeah, he looks really scared that there's a T-Rex right next to him. I'm pretty sure he sees those every day in San Diego. Just another day at the job for him. Also, that's not the same guy we just saw. They look nothing alike. Whatever. Post-review Cinema Sin rant over. Back to your originally scheduled program. But similar to John Hammond, I'm gonna have to put this scene in the neutral pile, because while it is really awesome, it's still extremely stupid as to why the T-Rex is here in the first place. And since we're like here, I have to ask, why wasn't this the entire movie? Because I mean, this scene is like, you know, half an hour at most. Honestly, I think it would have been a better decision to make this the majority of the movie than like be on the island for most of the time. Because let's be honest here, while Isla Sorna is great because it's a new island, technically, if you watch the first movie first. But all you need to know about Isla Sorna is it's basically the park without fences. Well, okay, there may be a fence on Isla Sorna, but it ain't gonna hold up. So yeah, again, this scene is great because it's something new we've never seen before, but it's also a con because this really should have been the majority, if not the entire movie. Also, this is a T-Rex loose in San Diego, and I feel like the scene would be completely wasted if he didn't eat somebody. And he just so happens to choose the screenwriter of the film, David Coep. Oh sure, censor his death scene, but when you want to kill off a rather innocent character that actually had more lines than David Coep, no, show that one in its entirety. Ian and Sarah catch up with the Rex, finally. Again, really hard to find in San Diego. And they get its attention.
Never gonna know we have it if the thing won't make some kind of sound.
Come on, wake up. Come on. Come on. Wake up.
Which, by the way, I know I haven't brought this up yet. I do not like this roar that they give the T-Rex in this movie. No, both of them. Because it just doesn't sound right. Now, sounds such as... those are freaking awesome. This one... just never sounded right to me. But the main attack in San Diego is over, and Rexy follows Ian and Sarah.
This guy's almost fully awake. You know where you're going?
Yeah, the waterfront's right on the other side of these warehouses.
Is there any way through?
Oh, God, there could be. There we go. You have to follow me now. There we go.
Got him?
Yep. There we go. Ready?
Where's the Rex? Is it still behind us?
Nope, it just gave up. Oh, I must be stupid. Ian and Sarah take the baby Rex back to the boat, and, you know, if you thought before it was stupid enough for Peter to hire mercenaries to capture these dinosaurs to bring to San Diego in the first place, he does something even more stupid, and he freaking decides to go into the ship and try to, like, I guess, kidnap the Rex again. Needless to say, it doesn't work out.
There you are.
So yeah, it's pretty obvious that Peter's gonna die here. But you know what? We've seen both Rexes kill somebody now, so I think it's the baby's turn. I don't care if you make that face, I still hate you for killing Eddie. Sarah finally ends this tragedy by shooting one more Trink dart into the Rex's neck. They're gonna ship the T-Rex back to Isla Sorna, but my question is, how'd they get that ship back onto the water if it crashed so far onto the mainland? I want to say something that's actually really cool about this movie, other than the T-Rex in San Diego. You see, Steven Spielberg himself actually makes a cameo in this movie. It can be really hard to see the first few times, but he's in there. If you look in this spot on the TV, you can see him in the reflection sitting on the couch. And I gotta say, that's pretty freaking cool. It's not a pro by any means, but my god, is that freaking cool. And John Hammond, in his technically second scene, gives us his wise words of wisdom.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life will find a way.
Alright, one more question in this movie. Why are the pterodactyls out in the open in this movie, but then the third movie they're in cages? And kind of weird, despite being able to fly wherever they want, they just stick to this island. But finally, this is where the Lost World ends. So, what are my final thoughts on this one? Well, let me try taking in a few different perspectives. If you see this as a sequel to Jurassic Park, you are really going to hate it. Most of the characters make the dumbest decisions. It doesn't really feel like there's a story here. And it's almost like they thought everybody thought the dinosaur attacks in the first movie were the only good parts, so they just cluttered this movie with a bunch of dinosaur attacks. Now, what if you watch this movie without even thinking that it was a sequel to Jurassic Park and that this is just a movie on its own? Even then, it can be really hard to enjoy, mostly because of the characters' decisions. If I hadn't said it enough, most of the characters do extremely stupid things to make the action scenes happen. A lot of the characters' goals in this movie are never really explained or fleshed out. An example of this is Roland. He said he wanted to hunt a male T-Rex, but he never said why he wanted to. And then when he finally tranked it, he just kind of gave up because one of his friends died. I mean, that's what we can assume because that's what he says before. He's like, I'm done. So long story short, if you just watch this as a movie on its own, it's still got so many plot holes and unexplained things. The only people that I can imagine would really like this movie is if they just want to see a movie where people get chased by dinosaurs for an hour and a half. I may be a big Jurassic Park fan, but I gotta give credit where credit is due, and sometimes I gotta look at the harsh facts. The Lost World is awful. Most of the characters are really stupid. Eddie didn't need to die. Peter is not interesting at all. There are like two stories going on at once, but you kind of forget which one we're supposed to be focused on. There's at most 2 Velociraptor scenes. There's too much T-Rex to go around, and it just doesn't seem like it took any risks to make something new. But as I said before, it's cool that they tried something new with the Rex in San Diego. But guess what? The only reason why it was brought there in the first place was because these characters are morons! But on the other hand, I still like Ian Malcolm. Eddie is great for the time that he's there. Malcolm and Eddie seem to be the only ones that make smart decisions. I like the soundtrack of the movie. I like how they try to incorporate new dinosaurs that we haven't seen before, but they get much less screen time than Eddie did. And I think I can just appreciate it a little bit more because I think they were trying to do something new. It was probably one of those cases where it sounded really good on paper, but in its full execution, it just didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. And I'm not one to call people out, but there was somebody in the comments of my Jurassic Park 3 review who practically assumed that The Lost World was gonna get a 9 out of 10. Sorry dude, but 9 and 10 out of 10 were not the only options. Just the number of cons in this movie really outweigh the number of pros in this movie. It just really makes you wonder what the crew was thinking when they were trying to write the script for this movie.
Okay, we're high.
5 out of 10. It kinda sucks that a Jurassic Park movie so far is the lowest rating I've ever given a movie on this channel, but it really just is average at best. I'd imagine more people would rate it a lot lower than a 5 out of 10, but to me, it still somewhat has a Jurassic Park feel to it. It's just not all there. And on top of that, this is just a completely opinion-based review. But if there's anything that you can learn from these characters, put on your thinking caps the next time you decide to go to an island full of wild, man-eating,
I'm your daughter all the time, you know. You can't just abandon me whenever opportunity knocks.
Do you see any family resemblance here?